Now, how do you get a last confession out of a priest? Well, you go on Reddit, of course. On there are groupings of any type of information you have ever wanted. Do you want a list of the best mayo brands voted on by the people? Well, they have that. Do you want the same thing, but about Mexican hot sauce? Well, they got that, and you better believe they have a list of the best last confessions of priests. Coming in at number 10, we have I'm Worried I'll Burn. This one was of course pulled from Reddit, and it follows a priest who isn't so happy about moving on to the other side. You think after a life of servitude to God, you would be ready to move on because you know that if anyone is going to get into heaven, it would be you. All of your priest buddies would be waiting for you there because what has a priest ever done wrong? But we don't know who this guy is. We can't assume that he's one of the worst people on the planet, and that's why he was worried about dying. This could have been because he was just a perfectionist. Maybe he was one of the best priests of all time, but just slipped up a couple of times due to human error, and because of his perfectionist attitude, he was worried that God wouldn't let him in. I mean, I don't know what the rules are about getting into heaven. It would seem that depending on who you pray to, it can be a lot easier. That's what I'm looking for in religion. I want a pretty lax policy on how you get into heaven, and you have to let me eat as much cheese as I want. Those are the only two things that are really important to me. Coming at number 9, we have faith isn't everything. I mean, that's a pretty good message to send out to the world before you go on to the other side. Giving up your life to something can be a fulfilling thing to do no matter what the situation. It can give you purpose and something to chase, and in the end you might get really good at that thing, but you have to open up your life to other things. Apparently there was a priest on his deathbed and he wanted to get something off his chest. I guess after spending your whole life chasing one thing and then looking back on everything that you did, you might be a little regretful. Maybe this dude wanted to spend some more time with his family and friends, or there was a love that he let slip away because he was too caught up in the church. I don't know, dude. I have never been to church, so I don't know how much time it can take out of your life. It would seem like for some people, it consumes their whole life. Coming in at number 8, we have a life without love is false. Sort of rolling off our last point with things that a priest could say to help bring more happiness into your life, we have a dude who said that life without love is false. Now, what does that mean exactly? Is he talking about a very specific kind of love, like getting married, or does he just mean having love for all the people around you to make sure that you are constantly spreading kindness? Well, the thing is with a lot of these last word statements is that we never really know what these people want or what message they were trying to send out, because before you know it, they're gone. And frankly, this one isn't scary if you look at it from the angle of someone who's trying to tell you to love one another with his last breath. But if you look at it from another angle, it might have been a sad old man who didn't have enough love in his life, and now he's warning the people around him not to make the same mistake. Coming in at number 7, we have simply pray. A priest was told by a doctor that he would most likely pass within a few days. As he was laying in his bed before the Grim Reaper came to give him a visit, he had many people come through who wanted to say goodbye. When they would ask him questions, or even when they would say how much they were going to miss him, he would always say the same thing: simply pray, which is a very peaceful thing to say before you move on. I feel like that would give people a lot of clarity as to what they need, because people would be coming to you in your final moments and they would want some sort of relief from their grief. But in reality, you don't have the power to give them that. That power is within them. So the only thing you can really do is tell them to pray and find peace with your final moments. Coming in at number 6, we have never make love. Now, these weren't the exact last words of this priest, but I don't think you can say what he actually said on YouTube, or else we would get demonetized. There was a priest who wanted to spread out to the world with his final breath, his last confession, the last thing that anyone would ever hear from him, that there was no time you should ever have carnal knowledge of another person. I mean, it seems a bit extreme if you ask me. I mean, even if you're the most religious person in the world, even if you're one of the most hardcore God lovers that has ever walked the earth, you know that you need to make hanky-panky sometimes, because if we didn't, there wouldn't be anyone left on the planet after a few generations. I think this dude might have been trying to finish his sentence, but he didn't have the strength. Maybe what he meant to say was never make love without taking a shower first. Even though I don't agree with that, sometimes you gotta flow with the moment, baby. Coming in number 5, we have I took a life. Geez, this would be something where I wouldn't know how to act. It would be a very awkward moment, and I'd probably just be doing that shifty eye thing when you're looking around like, oh. Is everyone thinking what I'm thinking? I would just be looking around the room to see how everyone else would be taking in this information. I hope that I wouldn't be the only one who felt like he didn't know how to respond. But this came way of Reddit, of course, and the writer of this point said that apparently they were next to a priest right before he passed, and the man just started crying and saying that he caused someone to die. He didn't say how, he didn't say what happened, he just was sort of distraught and freaking out. People in the room were trying to calm him and ask him what happened, but before you know it, the man was gone from this plane of existence. And everyone in the room was just left there sitting and wondering if what he said was true or if he was just having an episode before he passed on. Coming in at number 4, we have A Secret Life. This one stirred up a bit of a fuss in the comment section of this Reddit post. The responses were all over the place. Some people thought that this could have meant the priest secretly had a family that didn't know he was a man of God because they weren't supporters. Some people thought that this could have meant that he was secretly gay and didn't want his followers to know because he knew that they would disown him. I really have no idea what the final verdict on this was, but it might be the most mysterious one on this list. Coming in at number 3, we have I Had an Affair. I don't know what all the rules with being a priest are, but I'm pretty sure that you aren't allowed to get down and dirty with anyone. Now, I don't know if you have had intercourse with someone, if that means that you can never become a priest, or if it's once you have become a priest, you're not supposed to ever do the deed again. But either way, hearing from a priest in his last moments that he was out gallivanting with his thang out might shake your faith in religion a little bit. This one was pulled right from Reddit and said that a priest's last confession was that he did the thing more than once with more than one person since he had been a priest. Now, just for the record, I support that behavior because I don't think anyone should be forced to never juice it up. But I think if you're a person of God, this might rattle your cage a little bit, knowing that your priest might have gotten laid more than you. Coming in at number 2, we have I Was a Demon. Yeah, that's not the last thing you want to hear come out of the mouth of a priest. Imagine some dude who was in charge of giving you all your holy recommendations, like the dude who was in touch with God and really told you how to live your life. If you don't want to go to hell and you want to make it into heaven, you find out that this guy had been a demon the whole time. That is a very Scooby-Doo moment. That's like finding out the dude who tells you what Oscar movies to watch has actually only ever seen the Fast and the Furious movies. Mind you, those are great movies, but I wouldn't call them the most highbrow entertainment. But what would you do if the last thing a priest said was that he was a demon? Would you think that this was just his last brain fart? Like maybe he's gone mentally ill in his last moments and he was actually hallucinating? Would you think that he was telling you the truth, that someone from hell was able to get deep into the church? Would you think that this was all a prank? I mean, if you're going to die anyways, pulling off one final prank would be kind of funny. Or do you not believe in religion at all and you wouldn't really care? Let me know in the comments how that one made you feel. And coming in the number 1 spot, we have I Stole from People. Now, this one is a little bit more concerning than the rest of the list because we have a little more information. Apparently, this priest's last confession was him talking about how the church he had worked for had been stealing from the people. Let me break it down for you so you know what he said. He said that the church he had worked for was taking money from his people to improve the church, but those improvements never came. The money was all being pocketed and never went to making the house of God a better establishment. Now, I don't think anything bad happens to you when you're a person of God who donates and then finds out that the people who have been taking the money are using it for something nefarious. But if you're the dude who's at the head of the church and you've been pulling something like this off the whole time, well, then things might not be looking that bright for you on the other side. All right, guys, that has been our list. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I've been your host, Jay Arena. We'll see you on the next one.